Hola, bienvenidas, bienvenidos. Yo soy Marcos Ordóñez y esto es Cómics XXI. Hoy vamos a hablar de un gran clásico americano, nada más y nada menos que Al Williamson. Al Williamson nació en Nueva York en 1931 y fue uno de los grandes dibujantes norteamericanos. Hasta los 13 años vivió en Bogotá, Colombia. En 1941 su madre lo llevó al cine a ver el serial de Flash Gordon. El pequeño Al se enamoró del personaje de Flash y empezó a copiar todas las posturas creadas por Alex Raymond. Suscríbete a Cómics XXI y ayúdanos a seguir creciendo. Desarrolló su carrera entre finales de los años 40 y principios del siglo XXI. Debutó en la industria del cómic a los 17 años y a los 21 ya estaba trabajando para EC, sobre todo en las revistas de ciencia ficción Weird Fantasy y Weird Science. Trabajó mano a mano con Frank Frazetta, Roy Krenkel y Ángelo Torres. Después publicaría también creaciones suyas para Atlas, la futura Marvel, y Price. En 1964 empezó a colaborar con el Creepy de James Warren y también con Eerie. Con poco más de 30 años ya era un gran artista, con un estilo elegante, refinado, dominando la anatomía, la composición y el movimiento. A partir de 1966, trabajó en el comic book de Flash Gordon, editado por King Comics, imitando con respeto, pero con eficacia, la línea magistral de Alex Raymond. Williamson abandonó el marco argumental que había desarrollado Dan Barry y regresó al universo creativo de Raymond. Williamson creó un Flash Gordon magnífico, con mucha más acción, pero se consideraba mal pagado y finalmente dejó el personaje. En 1995 crearía una miniserie sobre Flash para Marvel. Dolmen ha editado recientemente un volumen con toda la producción de Williamson de Flash Gordon. Al Williamson realizaría la adaptación al cómic de la película Flash Gordon de 1980 que había dirigido Mike Hodges. Al Williamson trabajó con el gran guionista Archie Goodwin en Warren y repitió con él en su siguiente proyecto, la tira diaria para prensa del agente secreto X9, que cambió de nombre llamándose ahora Agente Secreto Corrigan. Esta serie duraría de 1967 a 1980 y supuso el punto álgido de la creatividad y de la calidad artística de Williamson. George Lucas escogió a Al Williamson para sustituir a Russ Manning en la tira de prensa de Star Wars y a continuación dibujó los comics books para Marvel durante 3 años, de 1981 a 1984. También quiero destacar el gran trabajo de Williamson en la adaptación al cómic de Blade Runner, editada por Marvel. De nuevo, trabajó aquí con Archie Goodwin y con Carlos Garzón. En sus últimos años de carrera profesional, trabajó como entintador, porque no le gustaba ninguno de los proyectos que le ofrecían. Entintó para muchos dibujantes en DC y en Marvel. Él decía que entintar era una fuente de ingresos fácil y segura. Al Williamson falleció en 2010 a los 79 años, tras sufrir la enfermedad de Alzheimer.
Well, when I was a kid, I discovered Mexico. I lived in Bogotá, Colombia, in South America. And I discovered, well, I had these pair of skates, see, I was about 9 years old. We were living in a pension, and I was down in the courtyard. And this kid comes up. I knew the kid, and he had a bunch of Mexican comics. He says, "Hey, Al, I'll trade you these comics for the skates." I figured, okay. So he figured he had a great deal because he gave me these comics. He got the skates, you know. So he was ahead of the game. Well, I had never seen comics, And these were from Mexico, from a magazine called Paquin, and they reprinted American comics down there, plus from Europe as well, into Spanish. They were translated. And I was just fascinated with them, so I started collecting the magazine on my own. My mom used to get them for me. And then a few months after that, I was so excited about comics that I started drawing my own. And that was 1940. So I was 9 years old when I started drawing. And before that I drew too, but I drew cars and little buildings and all that, but I wasn't into drawing, if you know what I mean. It was the comics that got me. It was it was an Argentine artist that inspired me first. His name was Carlos Clemen, and he did a strip called The Undersea Empire. And it just grabbed me. And then around 1941, about a week or two before Pearl Harbor, my mom's reading the paper, and I'm on the floor in the living room, and I'm drawing, and she says, they're showing a movie tonight that you might like. It has to do with rocket ships and things like that. So I was all excited about that. And but I didn't believe her. I didn't think, they don't make movies like that. They don't make rocket ship movies and stuff like that. So anyway, we came along. She took me to the movies that evening. We went there around 6:30 or thereabouts. And I sit down, and the coming attractions come on, and the news of the day comes on. And finally, the movie, and I didn't believe it. I could not believe it. The movie and the title comes on. Flash Gordon conquers the universe. Oh, I couldn't believe it. It was like when you saw Star Wars. And I just fell in love with the film. I fell in love with the character. And I knew that there was a strip called Flash Gordon. And so I dug up the pages, and I got so excited. And the reason I got into it, because Flash Gordon was a real person to me. He was Buster Crabbe, And so I started copying Alex Raymond's work. And you couldn't find a better artist, except maybe Harold Foster. Definitely Harold Foster, who did Prince Valiant. And I started copying the drawings of the Flash Gordon figures and all the figures he drew. And he was one of the best figure men in the business. So I learned how to draw figures by copying him. And that's how I got into comics. I decided that's what I want to be, a comic artist. So that's it. Wally Wood was working with games, with EC. And we were friends. He and Joe Orlando worked together, and then Joe went on his own and worked for EC, and Wally did his own work for EC. And they kept telling me to go up to see Bill, but I didn't think I was good enough. Then one day I sat down and did a sample, and I went up and I saw Bill and Al, and they liked it. They liked it, and they gave me a choice of two jobs. They had a science fiction one, and they had a horror story. And the horror story was kind of nice because it took place in the swamp. And I figured, get something that's not going to be too difficult to do, So I took the 6-page swamp story. And the thing that got me is Bill said to me, "Now look, Al, the one thing I ask from my artists is meet the deadline. You don't meet the deadline, you don't work for me." And that scared the hell out of me. So I always met the deadline. So I did it, and they liked it, and they still had the other job, and I thought, well, maybe I will take it after all. So I did that too, and I had some help with that one. My friend Roy Krenkel and Frank Rosetta helped me with that. They did some of the inking and some of the backgrounds on that, so that was kind of nice. Okay. It was fun working with my friends. He was a good man. I had no problem with Bill. Like I think I mentioned it before, he said, the only thing I ask of you, Al, is meet the deadline. And of course, every time I came in with the job was on the day it was due, and he would go into, he made it, Marie, oh God, give me my pills. He always went into a routine, it was a riot. And it was a lot of fun working for Bill. And, the guys there were just great. I got to meet Harvey Kurtzman. I got to meet Johnny Craig, And they were wonderful guys. Terrific talents, And, of course, I had known Wally. I mean, he's the one that pushed me to go up there. He and Joe Orlando pushed me to go up to Marvel, to EC. And it was nice. It was nice working with Bill. He was a good man. Well, I worked with two of the best guys. Well, I worked with quite a few guys that were very, very good. I started with EC, the first job I did myself. The second job, my dear friend Roy Krenkel helped me out with. He did some beautiful city backgrounds in it. And Frank Frazetta inked some things for me in that, which was nice. And on and off, I had Frank and Roy help me with jobs. And then later on, Angelo Torres helped me with stuff. We did work together. So I wasn't really very, regimented. You know, I was just 21, 22 when I started. And it took me a long time to kind of grow up. It wasn't until I got married and when I was 29, 30 that reality hit me and said, okay, Williamson, sit down and get to work. No more fooling around. So it was a lot of fun. You know, I mean, I took my work seriously, but not as seriously as I should have. So consequently, most of the jobs done for EC, I had someone help me with it, work with me. You know, like Roy or Angelo Torres or Frank. They always came through. It was nice. Well, I enjoyed, when you do a drawing and it comes out kind of nice, and then Frank inks it and it really looks good. That's kind of nice. You see, it wasn't a case of he's going to make me look better. It was a case, this is going to look better. You know what I'm saying? And Frank was a genius. He made that stuff look so good, and we liked looking at good art. You know, I mean, we were fans of Frank and of one another. So when Roy would do a background and I would do the figure, and Frank would ink the figure, and you know, I mean, it was great because it was a great thing to see. Three guys doing a panel or a page, and we enjoyed each other's work. So it was kind of nice to see it that way. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but it was fun. It wasn't a case of I pencil this and Frank inked it, but everybody thinks I inked it. No. It's a case that we all did it together. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Did you know at the time when you were doing this that you were creating these masterpieces?
Well, I don't know if they're masterpieces, but they were a lot of fun. Yeah, I think what Roy did was beautiful. And, of course, Frank's inking is superb. And some things I did were okay. You know, I like drawing figures, you know, so, I mean, I'm not the greatest, but what the hell, I did the best I could, and I think the three of us turned out nice-looking work. Yeah, there was more of a friendship thing, more of a family feeling. Bill would get together and have get-togethers with everybody, at least once a year. You always had a Christmas party or something like that, you know. And we'd get together and we'd get to meet the families and all that, which was, I thought, very, very nice, you know. And I don't think anybody in comics was doing that, to my knowledge. So in that respect, it was a lot of fun working with Bill. So when the thing, you know, finished after the Kefauver thing or whoever it was that screwed everything up, and as comics were very bad for causing juvenile delinquency. And so as soon as they banned them, you notice juvenile delinquency is, you know, no longer with us. And anyway, don't mind me. I'm just being bitter. So what was the question?
Was the difference working for EC and other companies?
Oh yeah. It was a family thing. You know, we really got and everybody there admired everybody else, the artists, and the wives were very nice. I mean, it was really, there wasn't anybody you could say, oh, he's a pain in the neck, you know. I mean, they were all nice. They were all very, very nice people. So it was really a very pleasant 4 years for me. Very, very pleasant. 3 or 4 years, whatever, however, you know, very, very nice. I have 3 favorites, and that's Harvey Kurtzman, Wally Wood, and Johnny Craig. They're my favorites, but this is not putting the other guys down in any way at all. Their work says something to me. I feel something from their work. And the other guys are very, very good too. Excellent. But those are my 3 favorites. If I had to, my life depended on me, I have to tell you that, who my favorites were. Now you know.
Okay.
All right. Care to do civilian. I want to do either Western or science fiction or adventure. Drawing ties and shoes and cars and buildings was something I did not want to do. No way did I want to do it. And I just couldn't think horror. I wasn't into horror. I didn't care for horror movies. I mean, I'd see them, but I didn't care for that kind of stuff. You know, I'd enjoy them, but I didn't want to draw them. You know, I wanted to draw Flash Gordon. I wanted to, you know, draw adventure. So that's why I didn't do that much. I think I only did 2 or 3 horror stories. That's it, if that. I've made every deadline that for all the editors and all the companies I worked for. I've made the deadline. And I've been in business for 50-some years. So I'm proud of that I was able to get the work done and meet the deadlines. So that's kind of nice. You know, I found out that if, like for instance, when I was doing X9, the job had to be in no later than Monday, 3 weeks prior to printing, publication of the strip. It had to be Monday. Because if it came in on Tuesday, it charged you $150. Another $150 the next day. You know. So I couldn't afford it. I was only making $225. So anyway, I made the deadline every time. I'd drive it in even if it was a 2-hour drive from where we lived, I'd drive it in on Monday. And one week, I guess I've been doing it now for 8 years or so, the strip. I was exhausted that morning, and I had to, you know, I called up and I said, listen, guys, I ain't gonna I'll bring it in if you need it, if you really want this thing, you know, but I'm exhausted and I gotta get started in the next week. They said, Al, you always meet the deadline. Don't worry about it. Mail it out. We'll get it tomorrow. No problem. That was nice. But then I always made the deadline. Doing newspaper strip, and I got to do that. I got to do Secret Agent X9, which was fun, and then I got to do Star Wars daily and Sunday, and that was a lot of fun. So no, I got to do what I wanted to do, you know, which was a newspaper strip, which is fine. I did that for X9 for about 12 years, and I did the Star Wars for 3.5. You know, so that was a lot of fun. And I had the best writer in the business, Archie Goodwin. Best writer in the business. Just wasn't into doing that. I stayed away from also civilian work, you know, people wearing ties and things like that, drawing, you know, cars and cities and present day stuff. I didn't want to do any of that. I just wanted to do science fiction or Western, you know, so I didn't have to think. Just sit down and draw figures and horses and people punching somebody, you know, and having that kind of thing, you know, gunfights and all that fun stuff. Figure stuff. I like to do figure stuff. I didn't want to just sit down and draw tanks and planes and guys with, you know, headgear and all that stuff, you know. Realistic, that wasn't my thing at all. So I was lazy.